Welcome to SoCalTech Interviews, where we interview the entrepreneurs, founders, investors, and others in Southern California's startup and technology community. Today, our interview is with Tavio Hobson, the founder of Trufl. I'm Ben Kuo, founder and editor of socaltech.com. Tell me your name and the name of your company.
Sure. Tavio Hobson, and then my company is Trufl.
Okay, and so what does your company do?
Trufl is an on-demand platform that allows a guest to walk into a restaurant without a reservation and wait less by bidding on the next available table. Any amount that they bid goes towards their tab. So if they bid $50, they actually get to spend $50 in restaurant. We are the anti-reservation platform.
Interesting. How'd you come up with that idea?
I came up with it because of my experience previously working at the LA Clippers. So at the Clippers, I was in corporate partnerships. I was constantly entertaining C-suite executives and marketing staff. And I noticed that there were a lot of restaurants that did not take reservations that had the extremely long lines. And those long lines oftentimes were not conducive to someone that wanted to get in and eat right now. And so we started to experiment and see that there were a ton of pain points from the restaurant side, that many guests ultimately wanted a way to wait less, get seated more quickly, or be able to have a restaurant know more about them. So with our platform, it's a full CRM system, so the guests will be able to upload their information, and that restaurant will know from the moment you walk in the door, you like almond milk in your coffee, or you're vegan, or you're lactose intolerant. There's no reason why Google can know what I searched for 10 years ago to the day. The restaurant you've been going to for the past year does not know that you're lactose intolerant.
Interesting. And so is your platform available yet, or how far along are you?
Yes, it's available on iOS and Android. We're currently live in LA, so you can use our app right now to get into restaurants. And at the very minimum, you can use our platform just to join the wait list. So if you're someone that doesn't actually want to bid on a table and you simply want to join the wait list from your phone and track your wait time, you can use our app for that.
And what do you search for to get to your app? Just
Trufl, Trufl. That's Trufl in Google Play Store and iOS Store.
Interesting. And so talk about your experience at the Clippers and going to a startup. How has that been going from, I assume a big organization to now, heading a startup?
Yeah, so I was at the Clippers in the midst of a pretty big transition. They were in the middle of ownership change. So it was very startupish, I can tell you that. And that's really where I thrive. So it was definitely very much a startup feeling when I was at the Clippers. And that's why I enjoyed it so much, and I enjoyed my time there. I would say the biggest difference is in brand, right? The Clippers have a brand that people know. It's part of a large brand, global brand, the NBA. We're building our brand at Trufl. Very few people have heard about us. And so that's a journey that's going to take some time to do. But I love the startup world. I love building things that are big. I love building things that can create extreme value for its customers.
Interesting. Now, what do you tell restaurants that gets them to say, hey, we want to use Trufl? What is the thing that they say, hey, this is something we have to do?
Yeah, so if you're a non-reservation restaurant, which is where we focus, if you're a non-reservation restaurant, you can ditch your pen and paper and start using a platform like Trufl, where you can now have a robust way to know who your guests are, manage your wait list, and maximize peak time revenue, right? So for non-reservation restaurants, which is where we focus, it's an opportunity for them to upgrade from the archaic pen and paper or dreaded clipboard.
Interesting. So what has been the hardest challenge you've had to overcome in getting the startup off the ground?
It's a platform, right? So with any platform, you have restaurants and you have guests in our case. So you have two sides. So the hardest part is figuring out how you build both sides simultaneously. We've anchored on the restaurant side, and that's gone well for us. So the hardest part in terms of restaurants is getting to the decision maker. If we can get to the decision maker, we have phenomenal success.
Interesting.
But in building a platform, it just takes time to build the ecosystem.
Interesting. How have you been the most successful in terms of getting to those decision makers?
We have a full-time salesperson who's amazing. He pounds the pavement, he calls, and he's able to get to decision makers. Outside of that, relationships. My co-founders have deep relationships in the restaurant space, and so we started with our relationships with folks that we knew. We happen to also have 2 chefs on our advisory committee, so they made a number of phone calls for us as well. And so outside of relationships, we do have a full-time salesperson who has done software sales for almost a decade now, so he's familiar with it. And we use both those avenues in order.
Interesting. And how has it been in terms of developing those apps? I mean, how easy has it been, and how has it been doing both, iOS and Android? Has it been an issue?
Yeah, so we knew very early on, because we have 3 non-technical founders, that we needed a high level of expertise from the technical side. So as opposed to trying to hire out a few freelance developers or find a technical founder, instead we hired a dev shop from Seattle. So we hired a dev shop out of Seattle that I had a close relationship with, that was able to build everything from prototype all the way to V1. So that process has been amazing. It's not without challenges, as any software development is, but it was great because now we have the power of a platform, power of a development company that has hundreds of developers in India, dozens of developers in the US, and is able to utilize their resources to build a scalable platform, which we would not have been able to do with freelance developers.
Interesting. Well, what's your biggest tip for other folks who might think of using a dev shop of how to keep on track and make things work?
The contract. So the contract needs to be based on deliverables, and those deliverables you need to spend a lot of time developing. Right, so you need to create a very thorough roadmap for what the product's going to be, and then you need to price whatever the project is to that roadmap, and those deliverables need to be how they're paid, as opposed to paid by the hour. Many developers will pay their engineers or pay the designers or pay their PMs based on the hour, and that can get really expensive really quickly for a startup. This is coming from someone who did that initially to build our prototype and realized very quickly that was not going to be a great avenue for us to go to. So if you build it based on the project and not based on billable hours, it'll make them accountable and more efficient. And then I would also encourage you to get a development team that's willing to take equity for a large portion of their fee. If they're not willing to take at least 50% of their fee in equity, and you're non-technical founders, odds are it's going to get really expensive really quickly if you're building something complex. If you're building a basic app that can get done in React, and it can be built in 2 or 3 months, then I think you're a little bit better off. But if you're building something more complex, then you want to make sure that a dev shop has some equity so that they're invested long term and not just collecting a check.
Interesting. What's the biggest lesson you've learned, maybe that you'd like to pass on to other startup founders? As a startup founder, what's the biggest lesson?
I would say fire quickly.
Really?
Fire quickly. Be very thorough in your hiring process. We made some mistakes early on that at the end of the day, we were able to get through and get over, and we're in a better place now. But I would say that's a piece of advice that a couple founders of much more successful companies than ours gave me early on, that we had to have the courage to do. Everything's not always going to work in a startup. In fact, more often than not, you're going to face more challenges than you have successes. The resilience to get through that, and the courage to know when to not feel like you're pot committed, and call a mistake and move on is important. And I think with people, that's the biggest place I've seen that pull down startups. You got to be willing to know when to move on from people.
Interesting. Last question is, what's next for you guys?
What's next for us is expansion. We'll continue to expand throughout LA. Look for us in another market next month, and 6 additional markets before the end of the year.
Great. Hey, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you for having me.